This is Paul Levy from Fringe Review, and as I record this, I'm sitting in the heart of Brighton's lanes, the lanes nearest the sea, and that's not too far from the hub that becomes Brighton Fringe in the middle of May. And this particular broadcast revisits and adds some new insights, some of which I've gained from talking to successful performers, and some of which are our own from reviewing at different festivals, fringe festivals around the world, including Brighton and Edinburgh here in the UK, and a few others too. And what I'm talking about is the subject line of the email that you send the media, and sometimes the first heading that also appears within the email. This is your announcement of your show. This is your pitch to the press to come and see it, to come and review it, to write features about it. And we often experience emails where that subject header or that header within the email, sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're different, is often very poorly written and simply amongst all the other emails does not grab the attention of Fringe Review, and I guess some of the other media too. What I want to suggest to you is that there are 4 principles to think about. As it happens, they all begin with I, so it's one of those annoying but yet perhaps memorable set of words that are going to help you create that one-liner. And certainly where we're coming from, we're not talking here about fake, pushy, exaggerated, hyped up one-liners. We're talking about you being authentic, about you being clear. The first I is informative. And that one-liner, though it may only be about the length of what used to be a tweet of 140 characters, it needs to inform somebody very quickly what type of event this is, what kind of show, what kind of genre, the key details about it. Words like premiere, words like dance piece, new play, new writing, that needs to be in there. And that tells people immediately what they're looking at, and it's also helpful to them because if they're not a reviewer of dance, they can pass it on to someone else very, very quickly. But if you have not said what that is and they then go into the email and realize it's not for them, there's a certain annoyance. This is time of their life they can't get back. So it's helpful, it's kind of genuinely respectful, and it's more likely to get your email forwarded to the right person, or that may be that you targeted the right person reading the rest of your email, your message. So informative is key. The second one is interesting. And interesting are 1 or 2 words, and I genuinely suggest not hype because we're all tired of it, that draws in the reader and gets them interested. It's what particularly stands out about your show. But this is kind of gentle stuff too. Interesting here are words like award-winning, are words like multidisciplinary, are words like fresh from Prague Fringe or Adelaide Fringe. They're words like cabaret comedy. They might mention that a particular director or a particular group has collaborated, but it's something that will get the person that might be reviewing it or covering it going, and want to read on. That flows into another I that I'd suggest has become more important in the age of social media. And where people get this wrong is they confuse it with hype. They confuse it with superlatives, where everything ends up becoming amazing, unique, as if we all end up being collectively unique. And that's the word intriguing. Now, intriguing goes slightly beyond interesting. If we were talking about something being award-winning, we were talking about it being a collaboration from China and the US, or a group that is that's revived a story that hadn't been found and was recently found in the uncovering of an archaeological dig, and they've modernized or brought that story. Intriguing, we're getting towards it there. It's where something is a unique story, something hasn't come along before, and there is an aspect of it that makes somebody sit forward and want to know more about it. Similar to interesting, but we're going to use a little bit of eloquence in our writing here. We're going to make sure that what we inform them is not only interesting, but it does make you begin to stand out it does begin to be newsworthy. It does begin to be something that's a bit quirky, a bit different, that you are the first group from a particular town or country to revive or bring this new piece of work. It could be that you're combining certain technologies or certain genres that have rarely been combined before. It could be, of course, when it's site-specific and where it takes place. And it goes beyond, oh God, it's site-specific, to, that's interesting. I'd never imagined a piece could be done there. And so there's lots of ways you could be intriguing. It's where the word interesting just goes that step further. And it takes us into the last word, and this is the thing that can really get the reviewer putting it in their diary, and that's innovative. Everybody's got an award from somewhere. Everybody's got a 5-star review from somewhere. Everybody is trying to be intriguing. And in that world too, this extra phrase or word is how you are doing something that genuinely has not been done before, that is an improvement on what went before, is something that's going to add genuine value to the person going, and they'll feel that they got good value for their time. When something is innovative, it takes us all further. And that can be in the way that, for example, I mean, there's a lot of VR, virtual reality, and the use of digital. But multimedia, when it becomes innovative, uses technology in ways that have never been used before, but in ways that also add value and purpose. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it plays to the crowd. It could be that it's going to make us frown, it's going to make us hate it, but we need to go along to find out what this thing is. So you might feel they're all the same, but actually they're almost like a ladder of progression, and you need to pack all of this into one sentence or a couple of sentences most. And certainly in the subject header, it can't really be more than a sentence. It needs to inform with 1 or 2 words or phrases. It needs to be interesting. It needs to just elaborate a bit that makes somebody genuinely interested amongst the crowd of all the other emails they're getting. When it intrigues, it just goes that bit further and adds something special to it. And when it's innovative, it also adds value to it. It actually points to it being on the forefront of something that's experimental, creative, different and new, and will make somebody feel it's worth their time going. So think about that first subject header. Think about that title that's going to be heading up your email or your message or your press release. And that's the thing that gets people reading more, for good reasons, because it's informative, it's interesting, it's intriguing, and it's innovative.